Hello, everyone, and welcome to the YTMB Builders Thursday Night General Hangout. Thursday's Hangouts are for the general discussion on mile railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. My name's Johnny Rep from Southeast Rails. Thursday's Hangouts are the proud sponsor of YTMB Builders, the EMAG, YTMB Builders Live Show, and the Tuesday night presentations. You go to YTMBuilders.com, and there you can click on the EMAG, and a drop down will come down, sign up for the EMAG. That way when it comes out, you'll get a email notification. That's a PDF you can download. JD and his crew do a great job on that. You can click on the presentations, Tuesday night presentations link, and there you can find the schedule and see when the show is going to be, because they are every other week now, about 2 a month, and see who the host is and who the guest is, because once a month we have Bill Baronic on there, the track planner. He does one every other month, and then Miles Hale takes every other month and does layout tours when he's traveling. He finds a layout that he could go interview the owner of and show us their layouts. He was just in San Antonio, Texas last week, and that was a real good show there. You can click on the live show and get scheduled for that. Big Bill's the host. Barry is the director of the show. You see who's going to be the guest and what the show's going to be about. The live show is every third Saturday of the month. We've got one coming up July the 16th. That'll be in about 3 weeks. So you want to be sure and look for that. I want to say thanks for joining in tonight's show. Yeah, let's see who all we got on the panel here. We got Phil, we got Newcastle, we got Mr. Hawks, we got Dwight, we got Andy. And let the viewers know that the Q&A is up and running. I just need to get it up on my screen. So all y'all out there in the Q&A, be sure and post your comments, any questions, and we'll try to answer them for you. If you have any problems, let us know about those. We'll try to help you figure it out or get you going in some kind of direction anyway. Well, I see Mr. Phil's got a wire tree there.
Yes, sir. I just finished that like 10 minutes before the show started. Been working on it for about an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah.
And it's just a simple wire tree, and it's just about 8 inches. And I started off with 15-inch wire. So 15 inches will give you about an 8-inch tree. Then what you do is once you create the wire tree, I covered it in modeling clay.
Air dry.
Yep, air dry modeling clay. I bought at Hobby Lobby. The wire I got at Hobby Lobby, I got a roll of 150 feet. It was $2.99 at Hobby Lobby, and it's 22 gauge. First tree I showed you, what I just finished, was done in 26 gauge, which is easier to bend. The numbers go up the thinner the wire. And unfortunately the price isn't on this, but it was probably right around the same amount. So then I just painted this in earth brown, which is the Rust-Oleum camouflage color. Now, when I go to get back into this tree, I will dry brush it with some light gray paint, maybe a deeper gray paint. There is, you probably can't see it, but there are bark texture that is
a little bit. Yeah, yep, yep. Yeah, there it
It's
is.
been scribed into that. Okay.
Now,
So,
before you paid it, you were talking about that clay was kind of flaking. Did that quit?
no, it's still pretty tender. But it's like I'm not trying to bend it. I can pick it up and move it. Nothing's falling off of it.
Oh, okay.
If you were to cover it in latex rubber, the same stuff that Jim in
Right.
Michigan's been using to make his master molds,
Yeah.
then you can bend it. And apparently that stuff takes paint. According to Luke Town, he did a demonstration on how he did trees.
Uh,
Okay, so what I did is in the fall, I found this stuff in my bed, flower bed, that is, not my sleeping bed. And what it was pieces like this. It was a plant, had a longer stem, and what I did was this one sprayed in an earth brown and this one sprayed in a gray. So I'm going to set the gray. Which one shows up best against the white paper?
actually, gray to me.
Okay, so I'll start off with the gray. So from this point, what I did was I put uh, green polyfoam. It was white, looked like this when I started. After I spray painted it, thinned it out, it looked like this. And that is Rust-Oleum's earth green, I think it's called, maybe forest green. And when you get all done, you end up with trees that look like this.
All right.
Okay.
Now, before you get any further, Phil,
Yep.
what you were doing is taking sprigs of that stuff. It looks like there's tape on there, so you taped them together to form that bigger tree, right?
Right. I am going to give a quick demonstration on how I did this. I got some stuff set up,
Ah, okay.
and then I will more than glad answer some questions.
You
So,
didn't. I didn't know that.
I know you didn't. I didn't tell you. So what I got is I just went out and I grabbed some sticks out of the yard, and to represent what these little, this sedum look like, and it's sedum ground cover is the plant. There's all kinds of different sedums and different shapes and flowers. This stuff, when it starts to grow, looks like broccoli growing. It doesn't even look like a flower. In the fall, it blooms, dies, and you get this structure. And it's all covered with these little itty bitty flowers that you got to pick off. So this is my quick demonstration. What I did is I took a branch of this stuff. Let's say this. And I took another one, and if you notice, when I snapped it and I pulled, there's like this little bark part of the weed that's left. And what I did is I went through and I went, okay, I want branches to come out right about there. So this stuff was floral tape. It's it's sticky, but it's not sticky. It sticks to itself. That's about the only thing that it sticks to. And plant material. So I found a position, roughly, and I put that bark down through there, and I took some of this tape, and I just put a few lines around it. Okay. Come back up, and right at where it met is pretty much where I stopped it. Okay. And this floral tape is kind of like a paper. So now I've got the start of more armatures. And then I came down a little further, same thing. I took this tape, wrapped it around. Of course, I took a lot better care. I'm just trying to give an example of how to. Obviously, I didn't get that up high enough for it to stay. And that's when Sometimes another set of hands would be nice.
Hey, Curtis, how you doing?
Okay. So now I have some branches here, as you can see. It's starting to take the shape of a tree. So once I get all these things stuck on, then I take this tape and I wrap it up and do the same thing. Now, some of these weren't long. Some of them, let's say, were only this long, and you wanted to stick that branch on the tree. What I did is I took this floral tape and I wrapped it on just like I did the other, but then I gave it a few more twists and I just held it on itself. Now you have that little spot to grab, and now of course it's going to stick to all the other stuff sitting around. And say I wanted some more. That gives you something to tape to. And then I took it and that one's going to give me problems. And I just wrapped it around a lot of times and I build up the base of the tree. Okay, so that's how I added all of these together. Okay, now that I've got this, I took it and I spray painted it a light gray, let it dry, and while that was drying, I took polyfoam and I ripped off a piece and I just started pulling it. And I pulled it to where it was, as if you look at that, it's wispy, and here's a little bit where it's kind of still solider. So I just kind of went in and pulled that apart a little bit more. Same with this over here. This is too thick. So I get a bunch of this all pre-made and sprayed out, and then I took my main base color of the leaf that I'm going to use, and I spray painted that the color it was. So now I've got this. And what I did is I just ripped off a little bit like that. And I sat here and I thinned it on out. And I went in and went, okay. Well, first of all, I get my eyes on so I can actually see what I'm doing. Am I still in the camera, John?
Fairly so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So then I went through and I just stuck this stuff in there like that in these ends.
So you don't put glue on them?
Nope, I just stuck them in there. There's enough little bit of a pull to hold that right there. You could glue them in, I guess, if you wanted to. Don't see why not. You could give this stuff a spray of some spray adhesive and do it. But I just sat there and did that and kind of worked it in among all of those, okay? And then I had taken, you've been to, like, you can get it at Walmart, and you probably get this polyfoam at Walmart too. I just happened to steal it out of a pillow that was down here on my couch. It was a little fuller than I actually wanted it to be, so I'm like, well, I know where there's polyfoam. I'll just steal it out of my thing, out of my pillow. Okay. So then I took this stuff, because this is what I had. It's Cover Max Clear Flat. Well, I used a lot of that. So tonight, there's nothing left in the can. I'm going to use Aquanet, just the good old hairspray. And I sat there.
Unscented, right?
Yes, unscented. And I just sprayed it till it was kind of whitish looking. And then I took my ground cover and I just started sprinkling the shit on top, and I didn't get much.
There you go. GP there, Phil.
Huh?
GP.
Sorry. I don't even know what I said, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
S word.
Okay. Yes. And I just sprinkled this stuff on. And give it a tap, sprayed it some more. Put more on, sprayed it again, sprayed it some more, put more on. And then when I was satisfied with the way that covered, I took a little bit lighter color of this stuff and sprinkled it on. And what this stuff is actually is moss. $4.99 for this big old bag of this stuff that you get from. I think this bag came from Joanne. Michael's got it. Hobby Lobby's got it. And what this stuff is a little puffball of moss that they've dyed a green color. Okay. This is a lighter green. I took that and I pulled it apart in like little chunks. So it's like that. This is just broken up a little bit more. And I put it in my coffee filter, threw it in there, ran it for 20 seconds or so, and it came out a lot finer ground up.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm using for my leaf flake on these trees.
I'm sorry, I walked away. What is that material that you ground up?
Moss.
Oh,
It's called reindeer moss. Moss.
Yeah.
Hobby Lobby. All that. Yep, that's what I ground up.
Yeah, I ground mine up in a coffee filter and put it on the back side of the layout as undergrowth. I don't put it down in the foreground like that, but in the background it makes good undergrowth. I hadn't thought about using. Actually, I did think about using it for leaf flake, but cool.
Well, as I've said before, there's many types of materials that can be used, and I'm modeling good enough because I'm legally blind, so what I see isn't like what everybody else sees, and this passes for leaf flake for my trees. And since everything is good enough on the layout, it all blends together. And that's how I did the trees. Made those.
That's not far removed from commercial leaf flake. I mean, commercial leaf flake is just paper, little pieces of paper.
So that's how
it gives it a good texture.
Yep. So that's how I did it. Anybody got any questions?
I got a suggestion, Phil.
Sure.
Looking at that tree there on the styrofoam.
Yep.
You might want to go upside down with it and spray it and put a little bit of your leaf cover on there. I could see some polyfill that didn't get covered because it's kind of on the bottom side.
Yep.
I mean, even when you're doing super trees or any of those others, it's good to turn it upside down and flake it that way too.
Like that.
Yeah,
that's the polyfoam.
Now, with polyfill, you've got to cover that material, so you have to do the underside of it. But if you're doing like super trees, you generally don't want to do much on the underside because leaves grow on the side that light comes from. So they grow on the tops, mostly on the tops of branches. I mean, they hang down some, so you want stuff hanging down. but I tend to not put it. I tend to not turn them upside down and put it from the, directly on the bottom myself.
Right. And this stuff comes in like 3 different colors. Actually 4. Comes in a brown too, because that's actually what I used on my dead tree that I did there is the little petals that came off of
The sedum.
the sedum, right. This is the sedum flower when it was dried. It's just the little itty bitty flower,
Yeah, because you pull that off with your hands, right?
Right. I pulled this off with my hands, and when I put this in the coffee grinder too and ground it up, made it a little smaller for the leaf.
So you use a leaf flake too?
I use this for leaf flake on this tree.
On the dead tree.
On the dead tree. All the dark brown. All that dark brown on there is the sedum flower, and the light is the same moss that's in a light brown color.
Oh, that's good.
Oh yeah.
Those look excellent. Those look really good.
Don't look at that side, Johnny. You can see the polyfoam. Look at this side.
Those look exceptional, but the wire trees I'm absolutely in love with. That is the way to make a tree. That is just gorgeous.
Well, see, that stuff sticks. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that too. I'm gonna try some different kinds of material.
I gotta tear into this sedum. I've got a bunch of this stuff. I just keep looking at it. I've tried spray painting it. I've stuck some leaf on it, and I just haven't made anything I was happy with. But
this was basically my experiment. Was when I took this stuff, it was just a bunch of little stuff that I kind of taped together and put a little polyfoam on it and dabbed it in the stuff, and this
that looks good too.
That's a 5-inch or 5-inch tree.
Yeah.
The only problem is I only had one of those plants, and I used it all just to make 4 of trees like this, and then I had grabbed some spirea, which is this kind of structure. And these look more like a tree on the Serengeti,
Yeah.
Everything's at the top. But this is what Ron Kleiss uses on his layout. That he's putting, I think, that ground foam that he makes or whatever he uses for leaf flake. But he goes through and he trims all this leafy part. And this leafy part on here, I'm just going to use for my to replace the polyfoam, and go with just putting stuff on there. But this tree actually, if I had more of this stuff, I could have added more and given it a lot fuller bushiness of even the flower. But that's I think 3 or 4, 5 pieces that's taped together to make that tree. The same process. Just a different plant, used for your armature.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just wondering, Phil,
Mm-hmm.
since you got that modeling clay, and it looks like you did a good job, but I was wondering what joint compound would do. Put on there as a tree trunk.
And I use wood filler.
Oh, wood putty?
Yeah, I just use wood filler, and it's very easy to put a texture, and I let it just get beyond soft, where it's not brittle, but beyond soft, and then use the back of an X-Acto to put the really deep cuts in it, then take a wire brush after it hardens and put some more texture. And I've been pretty happy with those results. The wood wood filler is pretty easy to work with.
Yeah. Now, going back, Phil, you said Luke Talon, was he putting modeling clay on and then covering it with the latex mold?
No, he just took the wire tree like this, a paintbrush and that latex rubber, and was just painting on a really thick coat to fill in all where all the wires were shown, you know.
Yeah.
And he let it dry, and then he went back over and he gave it a second coat, and then I can't remember if he put it in sawdust and then painted it, or if he just painted it, because I think he said it was paintable, and well, that was the next step, is he just painted it, you know. And he used Woodland Scenic's ground foam to make his. It was if you go to his YouTube channel, it's only like probably a 3-month-old at the most video of him doing a tree.
Yeah. Okay.
Did he dust it with sawdust?
What's that?
Did he dust it with sawdust? I don't remember him doing that.
He may not have. I don't remember, honestly. I just
remember somebody else do that. Done a wire tree, but they didn't use that flex paste. They used something else. They dusted it with sawdust and then sanded it, so only the sawdust that laid flat stayed on there, and it made a really good looking
tree trunk.
Well, it made a good looking pine tree, you know, with those big flakes of bark, but it wasn't great for making, you know, a deciduous tree. So Luke did, when he did it, it was just the flex paste. And my concern with the flex paste is it'd be pretty hard to get bark structure as good as what you've got there with that clay, Phil. So,
well, you know, his tree was 4 inches tall. And it was an apple tree. And I mean, you look at real apple wood, it's knotty and all tore up. But to tell you the truth, the way that his wires and following the bumps and all that, it looked like a knotty, you know, apple tree.
Yeah.
You know, where lots of branches have been pruned off and all that. I don't, like I said, I just watched it earlier today, and I'm like, I don't remember what. He may have, like I said, put the latex on and just painted it. I don't remember. But I had bought that modeling clay like a year ago. And we were in a hangout one night. And Curtis Hunt was asking about, because he had bought a tree kit from Walters for like, I think he said like $29.99. It was supposed to make an 18-inch tall tree. And all the wires were 18 inches. And the process he had to do was actually building it from the top down, is how the instructions went in that kit. So, you know, these branches there's not a lot of branch here, you know, on this tree. This might make like a good black walnut or something like that, because they don't have a lot of leaf, I think, in the bushes, at least the ones here in Michigan don't.
I still think that'd make a great dead tree in the middle of a cemetery.
There he is. Hi, Jim. Yes, it would. Unfortunately, at one time I was going to have a cemetery on my layout, but there's just not room.
I think also elm trees, they got big trunks, but a lot of the limbs don't have a whole lot of structure to them.
Right.
So that could be that too.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, each tree.
I mean, it's going to look good when you get done with it.
Right. These are, to me, this structure is a maple, a poplar, and a birch tree here in Michigan. This is what they look like. And, I mean, you can go in now with, like, this painted, this gray color. I don't know if I'd really want to go bright white for a birch. I may want to use this gray and just go through and use a darker gray for the black stripes that are in birch trees and stuff.
What about just a dry brush of white on there, just to highlight?
Could do that too. Yep, could do that too. But
Very interesting, Phil. Very interesting.
okay,
Just another good way of doing a tree.
exactly. Yes. Yep. So
It
that's my
shows
little
you
show
don't have to
and tell.
do it one particular way.
Exactly. There's lots of different ways to do stuff.
On any decent sized layout, you kind of have to use numerous ways to get those trees that look good in the foreground, fill the background in. You know, I
Right.
use a lot of different techniques. And if you
Yeah.
want that one beautiful tree right on the front of the layout, right in the yard of a house in a key scene, you know, it's going to take one of those methods.
Right.
Yeah.
When I see these layouts with all these puffball trees, and I mean, I've been through the Appalachians, but I really wasn't paying attention to the trees when I went through. I've been through it a couple times. I either was, driving down on my way to Florida or on my way back or to Georgia and back. And one time, two of the times I went through was at nighttime, so you can't even see it. But you see these layouts that have all these puffball trees on their layout, and it's like here in Michigan, all the trees are not the same. I'm assuming that in the Appalachian, a lot of the trees are all the same kind of tree in order to get that puffball effect.
Yeah, when Bonnie and I was going through Missouri, I even told her, I said, now look at the trees on those hills there. It looks like a bunch of green cotton puffballs. And she agreed with me. She said, yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. So
Yeah.
I'm not totally against puffball trees in the distant background. So if you had a 4-foot deep seed and you had mountains all the way back at the back, that's not totally bad to do. The problem is if you put it on a layout that's within 2 feet of you, you can see the absence of a branch structure. Now that don't mean you have to build a beautiful model, perfect precision wire form tree for every layout. But if you just take a few sticks and stick them up and put the puffball on top, so there was a little bit of branch structure there. Maybe put a dead tree or two stuck in. Because if you look at a picture of the mountains in Appalachia, there's some dead trees, there's tall trees, different size leaf. There is some diversity of trees, and you see branching. Unless it is way off in the distance, you see branches.
yeah, that mountains that we were looking at hills, you didn't see any branch structure. It looked just like puffball sitting on a mountain. Because I've never looked at it before. You're driving through and pretty mountains, blah blah blah.
Sure.
But now that I'm looking at stuff, because I hate this hobby, because now I'm looking at trees and grass and buildings and holy crap.
You know what, Rick?
But so now I'm looking at it more. And in my originally when I first got this hobby, I'm thinking, I'm doing puffball trees. Those are cool. Now because of Andy, I've got to have all this other stuff. But anyways, as I was driving through, I was amazed at how much they look like puffballs sitting on that mountain. I really was. I was shocked. Now this was something that was a little further away. It wasn't right up in my face, but yeah.
A lot of people have done puffball trees. I mean, as many people have done puffball trees that have nice layouts, they can't all be wrong. So puffballs are not horrible per se. I just think in the era when you can buy super trees, spray paint them, spray glue, dust them, throw them on the layout, when it's that easy to do, then it feels like you should do it that way versus puffballs, is my argument. Now, if you had to wire form a tree for every one of those, no, forget it. Puffballs are good enough. And I agree with the good enough philosophy. It just has to be good enough. But
and another argument for puffballs is cost. You can buy a big bag. I tell you what, I just bought a king size pillow at Walmart for $3.98. It's just full of fiberfill, cheaper than buying the fiberfill in a plastic bag for hobbies. You can that $4 pillow would do my whole layout. But now I've got $100 invested in just the stuff to make trees.
Well,
for my layout.
and my biggest argument My biggest argument against puffballs is that nobody does anything different at the edge of the forest line. As the puffballs come down to the tree or down to the track or down to the top of a cliff line or something like that, they just run the puffballs down. If you would take some of this crap like Phil's using or super trees and put them along the front and then fill in behind them with puffballs, that'd probably be okay. But when you look at the top of a cliff line, you don't see puffballs. You don't see the tops of the trees. You see trees, full-blown trees. You see undergrowth. You see, briars and brambles.
Well, yeah, and I agree. You do usually along a cliff line, but I'm just saying, if someone that's modeling on a budget, a $4 bag of fiberfill will do their whole layout, compared to $100 I've spent, and I bought 2 boxes of the super trees and then some Scenic Express. What's their leaf called?
Leaf flake.
Super leaf. Yeah.
Super leaf. And I bought a few bags of the different colors of super leaf that I wanted. Damn, I got $100 invested. Boom, that quick.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I might get 100 or 150 trees out if I'm lucky, but still, I mean, I spent $100, and someone that's on a budget that just can't afford to spend as much money as I've dumped into this little room, and I haven't dumped a lot by comparison to some people, but you know, it's that $4 bag of fiberfill and a $3 can of spray paint.
But it doesn't have to be expensive to be one end or the other. You know, the expensive end is super trees and super sage and sagebrush and all this other stuff at the expensive side. And then the cheap side is puffballs. But you can do kind of middle of the road. You can take this stuff right here that's free that was out by my mailbox, the same stuff Phil's got that I can't never see them. I have a hard time remembering what it is. Cut the top off that, stuff a puffball on top of it, and dust it with some ground foam. And now, I'm not a fan of ground foam in general. When I look at trees, and I have glasses, it's not about like my vision's perfect, but it's pretty good. When I look at a tree, I see leaves. You know, I don't see just a blur of color. I see leaves. So I can't get away with ground foam for trees unless they're in the far distant. You know, up front they need to have leaf. But I like what Phil did with that moss. That's a good idea to try.
Yeah, and that's fine if you got sedum and stuff growing around. Now, Phil collected a garbage bag full. Was it a kitchen garbage bag or a 30-gallon garbage bag, Phil?
It was one of those bags you get at when you go to Walmart, Meijer's, Kmart. Just one of those plastic bags full of those. All the stems were sticking up, but it was a group like yay by yay, shoved into one of those bags.
Right.
There was probably 30 stalks, and out of the 30 stalks, I got 5 trees.
Right. And you said that stuff shrank down quite a bit over the winter while it was drying.
Yeah. When it was growing, it was twice the size that it was.
Right.
I mean, those flowers didn't even look like flowers. They looked like cauliflower, or not broccoli.
Right.
Curtis,
oops, go ahead.
Curtis has got a question before we get too far along. He wants to know, what is a puffball?
Do that little puffball tree you just did a second ago.
Where's that?
Phil? It looks like that Dr. Seuss.
You take this polyfoam, grab it, and just kind of roll it around in a ball and stick some glue on a thing, and boop, spray paint it green, stick it up in the mountain. Do another one, sitting right next beside it.
Well, they put some ground foam on it. They paint it.
Okay, they put ground foam on it.
If you look at all the Model Railroader magazines for the last 30, 40 years, that's what majority of those layouts are, is puffballs in the background. Right. And all their projects.
Yeah, the way we did it at the store was like Phil showed. We rolled it up into a ball, about 2-inch diameter ball. We sprayed it with paint, the green paint. While it was wet, we rolled it in ground foam, shook it off, and threw them off to the side in a box till we got a whole bunch of them. And then we took them out there on the layout and started putting glue in one spot of that puffball and sticking them on there and just grouping them up where they stay kind of rounded.
yeah.
That's how we did top of the mountain.
And that's
basically
great.
just polyfill.
And some people will argue you don't want your trees looking better than your train. People come in to look at your layout, go, oh wow, look at these trees, these are beautiful, and not even paid attention to the train. So I mean, and I'm not of that group. I mean, Andy's got me to spend $100 to make some trees.
Granted,
Actually, what you're doing is you can do like Andy's done. I mean, he's got some good-looking trees there, but he's got them, in front of the track work, some behind the track work. That way, the train's running right through there, just like you would see in the real world. So, they're getting to see the train too.
but behind all those really nice trees, it's just super trees. I mean, I don't use those really nice trees in the background. I just put those nice trees in the front and right behind the track as you enter the forest, at the edge of the forest line, and then it's just super trees behind it. And it's a little bit of sedum, and it's a little bit of, some bottle brush pine trees and crap, but I just put those nice trees at the edge. And that's been the argument against photorealistic backdrops and stuff for years. That if you had a good-looking background, a photo backdrop or something like that, it would take away from the rest of your scenery. Well, I would say that that's not a good argument for doing a crappy backdrop. Instead, that's a good argument for increasing your modeling skill or something. If your backdrop's outdoing your scenery or whatever, and if your trees look so much better than your trains, then you might ought to look at different trains or something. Weather them. Something. My goal on my layout is to have, kind of cohesive. I can't be perfect, and I'm not an artist. So,
John, am I presenting okay?
Let me see where you at.
Looks like a bunch of green. Yeah, present that so that Curtis can see that. Curtis, that's a bunch of puffball trees. That's the polyfiber cotton. And like I said, and it doesn't look bad. I mean, it's not a bad looking scenery layout. Of course, you're not seeing the trunks of the trees and whatnot, but I mean, and cost is cheap and it's fast. Hey, that guy's got the same rock plant I got. Of course, I'm sure thousands of people do. I just noticed that. But that doesn't look bad at all. I like the looks of that.
But if you, just at the top of that rock cut that's going back there toward that rock crusher, if at the top of that rock cut, that first row of puffballs that you did, just the first row, if you'd stuck some little sticks or toothpicks, for God's sake, or some sedum or something in the ground and threw the puffball on top of it so that there were some trunks along that edge, it would be so, that would improve it dramatically, in my opinion. That's the only place where it feels like it's missing a lot. Behind that, it's not as bad. But I grew up in Appalachia. When you look at the mountains, you can see into the trees sometime. There's about a month of the year in August when it's pretty doggone full. But up until then, there's some spots in the trees. There's some dead trees sticking up. There's a lot of diversity.
And this guy here, what he's done is kind of shaped those puffballs too. They're not all just kind of round shaped either.
Yep.
He elongated some of them to give them different shape in there.
Right. And he's trying to cover up for not having the tree trunks down at the bottom by that track where the gas facility, fuel facility is, where he has all that undergrowth growing right up onto the trees, kind of. Yeah. But if you just put some sticks in there, you would have changed that considerably in my mind. But when I look at Appalachia, I see oak trees that have big old leaves on it, and other trees that have much smaller leaves. There's diversity, and all that is it's too even. That's my only complaint. I'm not saying you've got to go do super trees or anything else to fix that. Just add a few sticks and add a little better diversity, and then you got it. Then it looks good.
Tony's got a comment up here. Yeah, you're echoing in.
Doggone it.
You also have to consider the width of the trunk on the trees. Also, so where you have a thick trunk, that tree is old, etc. Yeah, it shows the age of it.
Well, and that's where these puffballs come in handy. You ain't got to worry about the wets in the truck. You know, it not only cost is a factor in this, time is another factor.
Yeah.
Those are so, like you said, John, you just made a bunch of them up, threw them in a box, and went over and started gluing them down. So, you know, and and in this scene here, this guy could have spray adhesive that whole top of that mountain, just started sticking them to it, and boom, he's probably done in the time it takes to make, 30 or 40 regular, whatever they're called, trees, super whatever.
Yeah, super trees. And
super trees, yeah.
And I can do those pretty fast. Hit them with spray paint, hit them with glue, dust them, stick them with layout. However, actually sticking sticks into the ground and stuff takes more time. You can do that whole puffball thing in a couple of hours one evening. And for me on super trees, that'd take me 3 or 4 evenings. So I get that. Puffballs are faster, and I'm not totally against them. I've just seen so many layouts that do it, and I've seen so many other layouts that don't. All right, let me find another picture.
Yeah,
Well,
Curtis Hunt said, now that would look good, like Andy said, is to put trees in the foreground.
That's actually one of the better trees or photos that Jim showed of puffball trees. I've seen ones that look just like in
That's what we did at the store, was just we made them round, stuck them in, There
was one in last 2 months ago in Model Railroad issue that modeled the Appalachian. That's what they had, was puffballs, and that's what made that layout look not as good as it could have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all Combat ever does is puffballs, and it just drives me crazy.
Yeah, well, Tony also said it's always what you want to get out of your layout, bottom line.
Yeah.
And I agree with Andy that the super trees do look better, but I'm just trying to give a point of argument with Andy, that's all.
It's a valid argument too. I like the discussion to help people figure out what's best for them, where the time is better spent, etc. It depends on so many variables. What season you're modeling. I'm gonna share my screen. I got a couple cool pics on a Google search. There's like this one is if you're modeling an area if you're modeling an area in the earlier part of the year, for example, that's pretty hard to do with any other method. And puffballs work okay. There's a puffball. That's not the best example of puffballs, but versus that. And again, it also matters what time of the year you're modeling. And if you're modeling the dead of August in Appalachia, puffballs aren't so bad. But I really like that B&O Railroad. That was a really good one. But this guy, Marty McGurk, he was the editor for Model Railroader magazine for a long time. He does, he uses the super trees, and they, tell me you can make puffballs get anywhere close to that, and that's, I also think puffballs work better if you have a big layout. So if you or big area to work with, if you have 4 foot by 8 foot to work with, puffballs are not too bad. But if you're doing little narrow shells like I am, and like so many people are on their layouts these days,
hey, grab them turkeys right there. Yeah.
Yeah. But so many of us are modeling these little. There's what I wanted. So many of us are modeling these little narrow shells these days, and puffballs really don't do that narrow shelf very well. I was trying to find a good one of Marty McGurk's layout. He was the editor for Model Railroader for a long time. That's a decent one of his layout. And he uses just super trees. Doesn't use anything else. Just super trees. There's puffballs on John Wilkes' layout out of Florida. I mean, that looks great. Look at that. That looks like the real world. Short of the back. If he had a good backdrop back there, that looks real. And if you're going for anything close to photorealism, and great. Oh, there's his layout. That's what I was looking for. If you're going to anything close to, I'm trying to get photorealistic. You know, I know that's hard, and I probably will not achieve that. All right, how about compare it to that? Yes, look at that. That's Appalachia. See all the sticks and you know, the trees sticking up in there? Yeah. 10 miles away, it kind of looks like puffballs, but even in that, I see diversity in spots. But look at the mountains that are anything close to what you're modeling. And what's close to what you're modeling has, you know, structure to it. That's Virginia, but these guys do some great modeling. I've been trying to figure this stuff out too. But Marty McGurk is a heck of a modeler. He was editor of Modeler. This is a decent sized layout, but you know, those trees look great. And they're not that time consuming. And they cost more money, but you know, they're not that much compared to a $500 locomotive. I mean, I can do my whole layout for what one locomotive cost me.
Well, and a lot of us aren't spending that kind of money on locomotives either. I can get 3 or 4 or 5 locomotives for what you're buying one for. So.
Well, not these big. That's the steam engines. That's the problem. Steam locomotives are doggone expensive. But another thing is okay. So I talk about diversity across the layout. There's also a consistency across the layout. If you went and did puffballs on your mountains, and then you get into the city scene or a small town, what are you going to do there? You can't use puffballs. And the moment you stick a decent-looking tree up in the town square or in a yard of a little house up front, that's going to destroy the illusion of the puffballs. So that's why the super tree in the background and a good-looking trees, either with sage or sedum or Phil's wire trees, are just exceptional. If you use one of those methods for those really good foreground trees, puffballs would really look out of place compared to those two. The difference and the disparity between them is too much. But a good-looking tree in the front and a super tree in the back is just not, the disparity's not so bad. If I can find a super tree somewhere. Here. Actually, best idea yet.
How the heck do you spell Missouri?
M-O. So my light's not the best over here, but along the front of the layout, see I have that really good looking tree. Sorry, I'm working, so it's messy and dirty. Along the front, I have, along the front, I have these really nice, like that's a really nice tree. And then all these are super trees. So you got this really nice tree in the front and the super trees, and they just kind of blend, when you're looking at the tops of the trees, they look like the tops of trees, no big deal. And as you're looking at the front, you're seeing that really nice tree. You're seeing this bark structure that's on the front of that tree at the front. And you would what the trick is, this is all an illusion. It's all about tricking the mind. If you put a really awesome looking tree in front and then put super trees behind that, and your eye sees that front really good looking tree, and then the tops of all those other trees look like the top of that really awesome tree. If all the tops of your trees look like this, you're seeing this in the front, and you're seeing the tops of these trees behind it that look like this, your eye thinks they are all like that. So, the illusion is consistent. The moment you take this and put puffballs behind it, the illusion falls down. And, you get a good-looking scene with a house that I just dropped, and a house in the yard, and a tree in it. That's pretty hard to put puffballs close to that.
Curtis has got a comment up here, or a question, really. Where did I put it? Oh, now what if you use trees and put the puffballs on it? Would that make them look better?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is that at least, okay, so the puffball is the idea, and we said this a minute ago, you guys said this, is the idea of just taking this crap and piling it up in a ball and sticking it on something, and that's what you get. But if you just take sedum and stretch that polyfill across the top of the sedum, put something on top of it, you have branch structure. Now, and I'm not saying you've got to go off the deep end to build a tree that looks like that. That difference is fairly just pretty obvious, but you don't have to go that far. But if you just go this far,
there's a photo of a guy go down the Missouri River. That's Missouri.
Yeah.
That looks like about. How many trunks do you see? You don't hardly see anything. All you see is puffballs.
I guess I see the trunks, and I see the branches, and
I see a trunk right there,
and down by the water especially. I will agree with you that you really only see the trunks where the where the canopy meets a line of something, like the track road bed or the river in this case. So,
but see, this has got so much undergrowth growing along it, you really don't even see the trunks in here. I see this trunk here, barely.
Yeah,
I don't see a trunk here.
Now, when you're standing in front of your model railroad, and you're just right here close to it, the fact that there's not trunks is it's missing, because you would see those trunks if you were standing real close to the trees. If you were in that boat and wheeled your butt up close to that line, you would see the line of those trees. You'd see the trunks. So puffballs work great if they're far away. The problem is we don't model our railroads as if we're standing on top of a mountain looking down in the valley at our railroads. Most of us model our railroads as if we were standing trackside.
Yeah, but even if you're doing your model at trackside, whatever scale you're modeling in, that's how far away you are from your track.
I'll grant you that. That's true.
HO scale, I'm 87 feet away from the edge of my track.
That's a foot away. That's a foot away.
That's when I'm with my eyeballs 2 inches from the track. It's 87 feet.
Well, a foot is 87 feet away. So if you're a foot away, then you're 87 feet away. In my case, I have track that's right up close to the front. Not much. Most of the time it's back some. But I have trees that are right at the front of my layout that overhang the fascia a touch. They're right on the front of the layout.
Now, and one thing I've got to say, and I have to admit, I am searching through the ones that look like the puffballs. I'm not showing you the ones that don't look like puffballs.
Okay.
So I am cheating a little bit, but still, I'm just trying to relate what I seen when I was driving through Missouri. It's like, wow, that looks like puffballs.
Great, and I sound like I'm coming off as completely anti-puffball. I'm not. Puffballs are not absolutely horrible, but what everybody does with puffballs, just piling it up, stuffing it everywhere, you can do so much better with just a little bit of effort. Just putting some sticks along the front would change it. Puffballs are okay. If that's good enough for you, do puffballs. But if you'll put some sticks along the front edge of it, you would change the game, in my opinion. And it's not that hard to go from puffballs with some sticks to just a bunch of super trees. And they look exceptional. And yeah, it costs a little more money, but they're easy as they can be to do. I mean, I could make 100 super trees in a couple hours. I mean, all I do is stack 50 of them up at a time, spray them, come back in 10 minutes, hit them with glue, dust them with leaf.
What about the time it takes to trim them down and take the flowers off, or whatever that stuff is that's on there off? And that takes time for each tree, don't it?
Well, the super trees don't have flowers or anything on it. They do have a couple little leaves that are in there.
That's what I meant, yeah.
That you could pull out, but on my background trees, you can't see them. I have done the trouble of taking them out, but you don't have to. And I'll tell you, Woodland Scenics 5-leaf foliage, this stuff right here. Woodland Scenics sells this stuff, 5-leaf foliage. And this is not necessarily cheap. This is like $18 for a pack of this stuff or something. This stuff right here. And it is a super tree, basically. It's a super tree material, basically the same plant, but sold by Woodland Scenics, pre-dusted with ground foam. That looks okay. It doesn't look bad. It looks like a very full tree, but it don't look bad. They leave those leaves in. All they're doing is spraying it and dusting it with ground foam. I don't really love this stuff, and I really don't love this stuff considering how expensive it is. But that's that's what that is. That's that super tree material dusted with ground foam. Now, in my opinion, I think leaves make a big difference, and I can show you those two comparisons. I can show you.
While you're doing that, Tony's comment is, what Andy is saying is the visual of the far-off tree or a puffball is fine, but if you have roads as streets, you can't put a puffball as a street tree.
Well, sure you can. If you have overgrowth right in front of it, when you have bushes or, I mean, just like in real life, the bushes grow up there and hide some of the trunks. So
how tall is a
can't have
bush?
them.
How tall is a bush, Norman?
Well, they're tall enough.
Well, in Appalachia, a lot of the trees.
To get the look that we're looking for,
well,
it
that's
hides it well.
And part of this comes back to this idea that we have done forever. You buy a woodland citrus tree, it's 4 inches tall. That's a bush, really, in HL scale. That's a 30-foot tall tree. That's a baby tree. That's a 10-year-old tree. In Appalachia, if you have 100-year-old trees, those suckers are 80 feet tall. That's a foot tall in HL scale. That's trees that are like that. They're a foot tall. So if you are trying to model, if you're streaking trees down to where all your trees are only as tall as a locomotive, then puffballs do okay. When you try to make trees that are prototypical in size or anything close, you try to make 80-foot tall trees, puffballs, that's a lot of puffball to make a tree that tall. I mean, that's a...
Hi, Curtis wants to know where do you get to seed them at?
Your neighbor's yards, just do it at night when they ain't looking.
Yeah.
You can't buy it and plant it in your yard. You'll have to wait till the end of the season and let it dry.
You can buy seed them at Hobby Lobby and stuff too in a bag, I think, or from plant stores. I mean, you can buy seed them, but
I think Phil called his a sedum ground cover. The stuff what you call it, Phil?
Yeah.
And what's that other one? The one Ron Kleiss uses.
That's Spirea.
And that's probably, I don't know. You have to work with either of those to make them look good. They're not bad, and they're not bad, and they make a massive improvement over puffballs. But
I tell you what, Dave has been over there just furiously working. So now that we got the trees, we got to water them, right?
That's right. We got to water them.
It looks like Dave's fixing to water up.
Okay. Take it away, Dave.
Water. I mean, I thought these were icebergs.
Well, that's what they look like till you told me what they were.
And that's a good idea. You gave me that idea to put a rock in the middle of my river down by my bridge there. I've been looking at my different larger rocks that I can kind of sit in there as an island.
Well, that's sort of the idea there, and build a couple of walking bridges. I wish I've got to take my bridges apart though, and you can score up the styrene so that way I could paint it and it looks like wood planks. Sort of jumped the gun on it the last time. So,
Well, you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing there, Dave?
Trying to simulate water in a river, and this is the blue is working out just fine for the deeper water. I had to mix some blue and some black together to get the right color, but as far as the shallower bays, I'm not too happy with the green that I came up with. So I'm gonna have to experiment with that a little bit, but
maybe just try a little bit lighter blue. You got such a nice deep blue in the deeper. Why not try a lighter blue in the shallows? Instead of green.
Well, I was trying to get it like so that way you can see some of which Michigan is known for, you know, the seaweed and all that fun stuff that floats up at like Metro Park there at 16 Mile in Harrison Township.
Right, right. I was gonna say it looks like weeds growing around it, or some kind of water plant.
Yeah, you know, and that's where I was trying to get it, you know, to where it was shallower and you could see down in there, because I am going to eventually try to simulate some fish with a guy right here fishing, you know, so and I figured a little bit of shallow wouldn't hurt in case maybe I wanted to drop somebody in the water, and yeah, they're fly fishing.
Two people you might want to check out. One is CSX Mad.
Yeah.
He's down in Australia. I think it was last year. He did a water scene with water lilies and stuff. You know, cattails.
Okay.
Cattails. Another one is, you know, Kathy Mellett, of course. She's done quite a few water scenes with all kinds of vegetation around.
Ah, okay, okay. Yeah, that's why we sat there at Hobby Lobby tonight, because I knew as soon as I got home from work, and I was like, we got to hurry up, get up there before they close. And they got so many different types of paints throughout that whole entire store. It's ridiculous. And we finally came up with a nice color for the Hewlett unloading area, the Ordock loading area, which will really work out good for what I'm going to do come this weekend. And besides working on this, went ahead and we ended up picking up some G-scale corrugated metal, 3x8 strips, and that was very fun to cut and try to keep the cut straight. We ended up using a paper shear, so I ended up having to rip these in half-inch increments, which really was not fun when I got down to the last inch. But I don't know if you can.
Oh, those look awesome. Yeah.
Simulate, you know, for you know, where the boat's gonna go.
That looks awesome.
And I think I got the right reddish orange for, you know, Great Lakes rust that I remember for a good many years.
That's O scale, you said?
That's G scale.
G scale.
Yeah, and it works great for this, and especially, you know, with the Ordock and that stuff, it actually turned out that, you know, it doesn't look too big, too gaudy, and that's what I was afraid of, being G scale. But I've got like, God, there must be probably 50 or 60 of those strips that we painted tonight, and I'm going to work on that Sunday. I'm going to put a video together, which I know quite a few guys are going to be interested in how I do my water over there.
Yeah.
This is going to be on the down low and on the cheap. So,
Well, I'm interested in what you're doing right now, because, I mean, you're painting, but it looks like that's pretty thick paint. So are you going to put like Envirotex over the top of that, or is this it right here?
no, I'm still looking to see what I am going to use. I've been out of the hobby for so long. The last time that I did something like this was with Woodland Scenics, those cream-colored little cubes you melted in a pan on your stove. So, I mean, it's been a good 20 years.
Yeah, magic water.
Yes, and
That's horrible. That stuff is horrible. But that's called something else. But because magic water is the thing that Kathy Millett's been using, that's like Envirotex, but it's a 2-to-1. And then those little pellets, although they have one good benefit, you could heat them up and change them later. They were horrible to work with.
yeah, they were, and that's where, you know, I'm trying to see what, you know, being away from the hobby for so long, technology's changed. So I'm trying to see what I can use, doing research, but yeah, this is going to get poured in this area, and this will be the only area that gets poured.
Yeah, because Kathy Mellett used Envirotex up on her layout, but it looks like where her layout is, she gets a lot of sunlight.
Right.
But she's saying now, after several years of the Envirotex being there, it's starting to turn yellow.
Ooh.
But the magic water supposedly does it. Me and Johnny were talking about this the other night. He just reminded me of her showing some guy who had put Envirotex out in a, what was it, a cup or something, and magic water out in a cup like 5 years ago. And the Envirotex was yellow and the magic water was still clear. So
Yeah.
No,
Dave, are you familiar with SMM SIG?
yes, I'm a member of that.
So you know about the 2016 Steel Mill Modelers Meet in August?
Yep, August 11th,
Okay.
just outside of Chicago.
Okay. I just want to remember to say something about it to you.
Oh, I appreciate that. I definitely do, and I know that John Bragdon, he appreciates the plug there. So, but yeah, I mean, it's I definitely gonna, hopefully, depending on what happens here shortly, because we just got some news from the shop yesterday that was not too nice. Hopefully we'll be attending that, and hopefully we'll be continuing to work on this layout for a good long time, but I don't know yet. So that's why we're trying to do everything on cheap right now.
Uh-oh. Emerging or something?
No, actually, they're in our organization. I don't know who's watching, and I ain't gonna say too much.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's true. Never mind.
But yeah, we've had people let go, and they're not replacing them, and it's getting a few people besides myself a little worried as to what's going on. So
Yeah.
we think the company's downsizing, which is never good.
Right, which Dow Chemical just did, as a matter of fact. It's been on the news, and yeah, and of course I found about it, heard about it before the news from my buddy Phil. But
Yeah, and that's why, we're still looking, like I said, for the pouring of the water. We're trying to figure that out, how we're going to do this. I know I will be using furring strips on the front fascia, and I don't know how I'm going to get to the back unless I remove this access panel where the window is at. We'll wrap the furring strips in plastic bag, so that way as it's poured, the plastic bag will hold it and not let it run down the back or the front of the layout on the upper level and hit all the steel mill stuff on the bottom.
Well, a lot of people use the caulk right there in the corners, so it won't run out.
Well, this has been caulked. I already did that before I put the rock down. Just, so that way I knew that the entire thing was sealed, and not that I missed a little spot. And but I ended up taking a router to the front of the fascia to cut it open so that way you can see the river here, and that's where I'm worried about it. And the backside, of course, is open, and I don't need that stuff running down into the windows of the house, because this is behind my bridge here. I have an access panel in case I need to get access to that window for maintenance or replacement, and there's one on the lower level as well. But I just don't want getting it all over the place. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
If there's a pinhole that anything will go through, that Envirotex or magic water will make an ungodly mess. It's as thick as it is, you'd think it wouldn't go through, but it doesn't take hardly any hole for that stuff to get out.
Yeah, I've heard that before, and I wasn't sure on it, and
Yeah, I poured a whole batch all over the floor one time, and it was fine. I was in the basement for like an hour or two, and it stayed just fine. I went upstairs, come back the next day, the whole floor was nice and shiny.
Now, I heard that other people are using the product called Mod Podge or something like that.
Yeah.
I did. I did this little creek behind me, but me and Jimmy talked about this a lot too. But I did this little creek, and it's kind of what do I call it? Foggy. But I bought what's that? A European modeler, Charles Kirk. Charles Kirk recommended using this gloss glaze, artist gloss glaze.
Yeah.
I bought this, and it was like $6 for a quart, or a big old tub of it, and it goes it goes a long way, and it does not frost. It stays clear. But Mod Podge has a PVA adhesive component. So if you put it on too thick, it gets foggy. So
from what I understand, the secret is to do it in thin layers.
yeah.
And this is where it might help you, Dave, if you go that route, either the stuff Andy's got or the gloss Mod Podge. You put it on in thin layers. It doesn't fill like the liquid Viretex would. It's not self-leveling is what I'm trying to get at.
Right.
So it's pretty much a painted on by layer, and you won't have no leakage problems.
Oh.
Yeah, I wanted waves. I wanted some crest and some structure as the water busted around the rocks some. So I put it on thick enough to have some of that waviness to it. And anyway, so it fogged up on me. So I like this other stuff. But what I'm going to do for my river is I'm going to use magic water or Envirotex, which is what I've always used. But I'm going to use the magic water resin to make the depth. And then I'm going to come back and lay this gloss on top of it so I can put some texture.
Well,
anytime I would never recommend the caulk. I've used it before in the last layout. That's the magic water just seeps right under it and stuff. It goes through every little hole. And actually, when I was taking off the layout, it glued almost every single building down. Really hard to get off, and get the buildings off. Though I would do probably just like a plaster over the caulk and cork, and then just rip it up. I don't know. I haven't used it since I did the caulk.
Well, it depends on what caulk you use too. But Kathy Millett, again, just to use her as an example, because she's kind of the role model for bottling water. She's great at it. She uses foam core wrapped in plastic that's cling wrap or whatever, plastic that you put over a pan before you put it in the refrigerator.
Saran wrap.
Saran wrap. Why could I not think of that? Anyway, she wraps foam core in saran wrap and then caulks the layout and sticks it to it. So you have saran wrap and caulk, and the saran wrap lets it, break away.
That's I have to look into how to do that. That's interesting.
But I like using the gloss. I'm going to use the gloss on top because the thing I always hated about Envirotex or Magic Water is the meniscus, where it wicks onto whatever surface. It makes this little edge on all the surface. But if you get that edge, and then if you go back and fill up to the height of that edge with this gloss medium and add some waves to it, then it all looks level, and that meniscus or wicking is not noticeable.
Okay.
Another thing, also, if you're trying to go with like a murky green water at all, whatever, I would recommend looking up JD's Trains on YouTube. He did a creek scene. That's another steel mill modeler, prototype CSX engineer.
Right. Okay.
Actually, he's operated the line by my house, so.
Yeah, it's we were planning this weekend on going up to Warren, Ohio, to get some photographs of some of the water up there by the steel mills and stuff like that, and so I had a proper color to try matching to, but that ain't gonna happen. And while we were up there, we were hoping to get some pictures of the steel mill as well. It's gonna be torn down here at the end of the month.
I heard that too.
Yeah, they start the 5th on tearing up the asbestos out of the blast furnace, and then the 25th they will implode it. So
I have to get over there. It's not a far drive from me.
Well, I'll take plenty of pictures for Dave then.
Please. If you do get over there, please get some. Like I said, here, let me switch positions down there. I think that'll work. No, basically where that's blackened out right now, that's where my boat's gonna sit. up in here with the hewlets right behind it. And I figured, okay, you know, cut the front edge off and shove this all the way to the back. And then just to simulate, you know, put those right up, just glue them right in place. You know, try to simulate the water, been hitting them for years, and try to get that nasty color. Just go around it. But if you give me about 2 seconds, let me grab this right here in the kitchen, and let me show you again what I'm going to do.
100,000, 100,000.
Yeah, you just don't quit, do you, Jim?
I never do. I can't help myself.
Lots of popsicle sticks or tongue depressors, as you know, the wife brought them home from work, and our TV and a caulking tube.
And what are you going to do with those?
I'll let you think about it till Sunday.
Well,
actually, this is how I'm going to make my water. It's going to be with clear RTV, and it's going to be with popsicle sticks to smooth it out. And then I have a special treat where I will take a metal spoon and basically, because this is basically what the equivalent of Rouge, so Detroit River is, and Rouge River, it gets a little, you know, choppy. And I'll just sit there with the spoon and one of these numbers all the way down from one end to the other and pull up the water, you know, so it looks like a little wave. I'll just put a real mild steam coat on it.
you need to do a video while you're doing it.
Yep, that's what I'm going to do on Sunday, and I'll do the video on this one. When I get to do the ore dock, that's where I will have some Lake Superior water, and it will be some nasty waves up there. So it'll be put on, probably 3 or 4 times as thick, and I'll really get the waves going.
Now, once you get that down, you're going to set the boat in it so you got an outline when you go to tapping with a spoon so that the boat is still sit flat.
Well, what I will do is I'm tapping it with the spoon. I'll have the boat taped off because the boats are not done. I still have one more to build, and they're not painted, and you can still see all the edging and stuff. But what I'll do is I'll mask off the edges, 3-inch masking tape, and then what I'll do is figure out exactly where I'm going to lay it. I'll imprint it into the silicone while it's soft, and then I'll pull it right up and out. So I will have a permanent inset of where that way it's removable for down the road, which I know me and Jim had talked about water on, his bridge pier, and I think this would actually be a great way for him to do it, because then he could take his bridge pier, set it right into it, pull it right out, and the holes are still there to where his pier will always be removable.
Yeah.
You just gotta watch it doesn't set on you too fast. The caulk.
Oh, this stuff you've got a 30-minute work time before it starts getting really tacky. It sets up in 2.5 hours, but let it cure overnight, and it's clear. So I mean, the whole bottom, it'll be. That's where I'm going to paint it this midnight blue. So
Dave,
black.
Dave, have you test run this on a small piece to see how it looks after it dries?
Actually, I have not, but I have seen a video for it, and that's where I got the idea.
Oh, okay.
I've seen this done, and I've seen how they actually make wakes behind the boats, the whole 9 yards, and this comes from a guy that does modeling of Army stuff and naval ships, stuff like that, and his work is extremely good.
Yeah, we all know how Jim likes to change his mind too, so.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, doing that pier like you were talking about, because probably 6 months later he'll decide to do something else.
No,
turn
that's
it
good.
into flat ground pasture and put a carnival out there.
Now, why'd you have to put that thought into my mind, John?
In other words, it's gonna be like Coney Island in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ferris wheel just imagine.
That'd be a lot of fun to do that. All right, who wants to buy these bottles I've already bought from my pay? I've got a pier with a crane. I've got a box with another 8 feet of pier, and I've got a pier turn wall by Walters.
Unfortunately, wrong scale, Jim.
Oh, hey, Paw.
Hang on, Billy Goat.
I like
Hey
that.
Jim,
Billy.
in the area where you're going to put the water, for the where the bridge is by the quarry, have you ever thought of I don't know if you're doing it though, making that look like a quarry they dig out and it's abandoned now and it flooded, like they're done with it.
Yeah. Turn it into a reservoir. Jim must have stepped away.
Oh, he's talking about my
Yeah.
bay scene?
No, your quarry scene where you were talking about doing the abandoned quarry.
No, the bridge. I was talking about the bridge where you got the water under there. Have you ever thought of making that look like it was a pit mine where it's now got water in it, now flooded and it's abandoned?
Where my river's all cut out underneath the
Yeah,
bridge?
yeah.
No, I want a river.
Okay.
I've already got it planned. I got a plan for it.
For
Okay.
now.
Good idea, though, Josh. Good idea.
Is the reason why is that when I go up to I've been up to Kelly's Island. The last one they closed is really like steep, and then there's all the water in it.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Newcastle. Come back in a couple of months' time and he'll change his mind again.
Hey, I've gotten quite a ways in this layout and haven't changed my mind but once.
Yeah, at least you're seeing HO, the guy who does that the belt line in Birmingham. He's like switched scales 3 or 4 times now. And the last layout was nice. I was really liking what I looked at. Now he's back. Now he's over to N scale.
No, you say Cho right now.
No, he's in. I think.
No, you say Cho.
Yeah, he just switched. He started switching to O scale 2 rail, painted up some equipment, and then ended up not building the layout and ended up going back to HO. But that's all. He switched once, and I get the appeal of O scale. There's appeal to it, but it's just, and he come to realize this, it's very, very hard to build a reasonable layout in a small area in O scale.
Yeah, Trolls Kirk is the guy that Jim was talking about earlier. He's the one that influenced me to go to Owen 30 when I was watching him build that layout of his in his backyard in the shed. And I tell you what, he's a heck of a modeler in small area for doing a full Owen 30 layout.
He's a professional artist, so he's just, he paints paints art for a living. He's exceptional.
Yes.
Man, Dave, I was going to steal your little island idea. Now I want to steal your walkway idea, too. That looks good.
I gotta take them apart, and I gotta carve the boards in there, and then take a nail file, and then rough it up crossways, so that way I can, when I go to paint it, the grayish white for weathered out boards, it'll look right. Right now, it just looks like 2 pieces of flat steel.
Well, get a piece of paper to pen down. I want break wall corrugated steel. I want some walkways. We'll make a list.
Oh yeah, I mean that's about all I've been working on. I haven't done anything with this in a couple of days, so my mind's been elsewhere. Just like this earlier, I got a phone call from you guys, getting ready to do the show, and here I'm out, trying to hunt a squirrel down that's eating my corn crop. So.
Yeah, I thought you was trying to impersonate the shadow when you first came on. Didn't realize you was outside with the phone pointed back to you. It's all dark.
Yeah, it gets dark over here about 9:30 now, and I kind of like it that late, but I didn't like it tonight when I went to go look at the garden, and I got 6 stalks of corn that have been chewed off right at the base. I'm like, lovely.
Is that a squirrel or a rabbit?
Gotta be a squirrel. It's gotta be. I mean, the rabbit's not messing with my, or I mean, if it was a rabbit, it should be messing with my carrots, and it's not.
Yeah.
So.
That's true.
Now I have something else to model on the layout somewhere up in here where I put the house, be a guy going after, a little animal running around, so out of his garden.
Well, if you find out it's a squirrel and you get it, then you can look up on how to shrink him and like a shrunken head and shrink him down and put him in the garden of your layout.
But yeah, the next step is now, I mean, with my icebergs, now it's time to start coloring them probably over the weekend. So I'll have to go get some spray bottles and some burnt umber, sienna, and all that fun stuff, and get all that ready.
You're going to use acrylics, just diluted acrylics?
Yeah, that seems to be about the best choice, and just spray it on there and just let it absorb into the cracks and nooks and crannies. And
yeah, acrylic works good and it seals the material. I've used ink a lot myself, but ink leaches out over time and gets lighter. And I think it'd be better. I've used the ink a lot, but I think it'd be better to use acrylics because it would keep its color for years.
Right.
Now, you might want to, if you haven't done this before, Dave, you might try taking a couple of rocks that you're not on your layout and test and see what you like better. Because I sprayed one rock and I didn't like the end finish. And when I did the dabbing it with a brush, picking it up with just a brush and just dabbing it that way, I like the look a little better. So you might want to just mold you a rock, break it in half, and do one half with the spray bottle, one half with the brush, and see what you like better.
Yeah, I've got about 70 casts that are in a cardboard box and drying also over there on the granddaughter's layout out there in the dining room. So that's an idea. I mean, I never thought about stabbing it with a paintbrush.
And they call it leopard spotting, is what they call it in the hobby.
Huh. So it's really diluted, like if it was in a spray bottle, or.
Yeah. Just like as if it's in a spray bottle, but you're taking it and just picking the medium up with your brush and dabbing it on there. I don't know. I like the control better because you can make sure your colors stay where you want them.
Yeah, I use a brush too. I've used ink instead, but I use a brush. I tried using a little spray bottle, and it just goes everywhere and makes everything look the same color. It doesn't give you diversity. The brush lets you have a hot spot.
Right.
What brush are you using?
Yeah, I've had good results doing that, never spotting it.
Just a 1-inch brush, a little, You can use a foam brush or anything that you can load a little bit of that, of that medium up on and just kind of dab it out there. Foam might probably, I didn't use a foam, but now that I think about it, a foam brush might work better where it'll actually absorb a little bit. So when you squish it on there, it drains down.
Yeah, baby. I use a 1-inch, like the 75-cent brush from Walmart that are basically disposable, and I use those, and then I cut them up for grass and twigs later. But I use those 50-cent or 75-cent 1-inch brushes, the cheapest ones from Walmart.
Yeah, that's what I used.
Yeah, jet brushes. But Dave, those rocks that you have in the water now, they're already attached, right?
Yes, sir.
So if you're going to do leopard spotting, that paint's going to be running out all in what you just painted.
Well, that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. I mean, it could, be good to where if I hit it right, it'd be running down and, you know,
Well,
different coloring down in there.
paper towel, standing there with a little wad of paper towel to dab up what goes onto the water.
Yeah.
Because it's thin enough and easy enough to work with. So.
Right.
And it's so dilute that it doesn't color a lot unless you left a pool of it. Looks cool.
Yeah, that looks good, Dave. And I really like those walkways out there. I think that's kind of a neat little touch.
There too. I like that real well. Stick a little person out there with a set of binoculars. It looks populated. That's awesome.
God, I never thought about that. Stabbing it with a brush and having it run down onto that. We just mix up some more paint over it.
Well, and like I say, if you got the paper towels, it absorbs. I mean, it's a really diluted paint with water. It cleans up pretty quick.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I was cleaning it up like crazy. Well, when I was doing the one part of the one mountain I was doing, I mean, I just laid paper towels underneath it, and what come off the rock just absorbed up in the paper towel, and there was nothing left on the layout. So it cleans up pretty easy. It looks like was you using oils on that blue?
No, they're all acrylics.
Is it acrylics?
Yeah, they're all either basic.
Oh yeah. Well, I would imagine once those have dried for a couple of days, you'll be able to wipe up a water off them without them coming up.
Well, what little color it won't hurt it anyway, because it adds a little brown color to it. Kind of brings the colors together anyway. What little stuck, but.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to redo this green anyway, so it's just not. It's not growing on me.
With that, what you got painted? Are you going to put a clear stuff over the top of that paint you just painted?
Yeah, that's. I'm still looking to see how I'm gonna pour this one. I'm not.
Well, if you're going to use the clear caulk on the other, why don't you use the clear caulk on this?
Well, it's too many obstacles in the way.
So rip them rocks out of there.
I had that thought before I put the rocks in. I should have put the silicone down and then put the rocks on top of it. It would have held it down. I didn't think of that at the time. That's sort of in one of those afterthoughts when I found that video.
You got a box of rocks, so just rip them up and redo it. Ain't gonna hurt nothing. I'm such great help, ain't I?
Yeah, Jim just doesn't want to be the only one here that's had to do that, Dave.
Well, you ain't heard of boy. That's a modeler's dilemma, is tearing it out and redoing it a bunch of times. That's just something we do.
And
if you don't do that once or twice, it's not a normal layout.
No.
And like I told you, John, I've only had one change on this. You didn't hear about it, the helix that I'm putting in. No, I'm not going to do that.
Oh,
I want to. Dave has almost had me convinced to do it, let me tell you.
I tell you what, if you put one in, man, you could have a real nice rock wall.
Stop it, Dave.
No, actually, I might be able to. Now you got me wondering if I could actually get away with that silicone.
See? That's what you get for trying to talk me into that helix.
So how runny is that silicon?
It's stuff that we use in the automotive field, so I mean it's not real runny. You got about 2.5. You got enough time, I mean, before it really sets up. Like where my Hewlett's are, I can do half of that section, tamper it the whole 9 yards, and then I'll move on to the second half of it. You know, and there's plenty of work time in it. I mean, once you get the tube emptied out, you know, it doesn't have to be that thick for this area where I'm going to do it down there with the Hewlett's. So, I mean, 1/8 inch is all I need. Not a big deal. You know, when I get up top to do it by my ore dock, I'm going to probably have to put on about 1/4 inch thick because I really want some waves up there. Because that's where my storm clouds are at, you know, storms rolling in. So. But it's just getting it down, putting up with the stench, and listening to the wife yell about the stench. Maybe that'll be a day I'll let her burn all her potpourri candles. What's this flavor? Light it. Let's try it. And now I'm going to have to tamper that. Damn. All right, that's it. I'm going to get me a couple of buckets. I'll be back. I'm going to go get a couple of buckets, and I'm going to try tampering it. I'm going to try it.
Yeah, get back over here and see what Mr. Phil's doing.
Ah, he's making trees, is he?
Still twisting wire. Don't know why. I really don't. I need to stop, but it's like addictive. Even though my hands hurt, you know. It's like snowflakes, man. Not a single one's the same.
I finished something tonight.
What's that?
I finished those uncoupling magnets.
What'd you install them?
Yeah, they're electric. I'm putting in some of the areas where operators are having problems reaching.
Yeah.
And this is the toggle switch I put in. So back there is I have the toggle switch right here, and then it's just a spring loaded one, and I got 2 of them on this track, and there's right there one, and then I used old-fashioned 027 one over there. Actually, I like the 027 one works the best. There, just came uncoupled, and then you move down to there, and I throw the toggle switch the other way, and this one goes up and uncouples. Yeah, I'm putting in a couple locations where it's been having problems reaching. That's pretty much it. It's like cleaning the train room up because I just made a mess working on it.
How many trees have you made so far, Phil?
Wire trees I've made. This is my 4th one. They're all like in different stages. This is one I did earlier tonight.
No, good.
So,
What's up, fellas?
Hey, Lee.
hi, Lee.
Are you guys still live?
Yeah.
Okay.
For about 13, 14 minutes.
Yeah.
How's your track, bench work and track planning coming?
It's slowed down. It's summertime. Other things have come up, so it's coming along. It's still in my mind. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I still want to write an article and all that good stuff. So. First, I gotta have the plan, and then start building. Phil, you're doing some nice looking trees, dude.
Thank you.
You are, man. You're awesome, dude. I mean, those. I'm watching you right now, dude. That is seriously some awesome trees. I've seen some people do the same thing as you're doing, but you're doing a really good job.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier if I was still played guitar, because then I'd still have calluses on the sand. My fingers are really getting sore. Really getting sore.
Now, once you get done making all the trees, now you'll be ready to play guitar again.
There we go. Maybe.
You won't have to go through the pain of getting the calluses.
Right.
You already have them.
Right. So.
Phil, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I need about 15 trees. Are you willing to do the job?
Am I willing to do the job?
I'll pay you.
You gotta go on the end of the queue.
Am I willing to do the job?
Yeah.
Well, dude, you're still in the planning stage, right?
Right. You know, later on. I'm talking about later on in the future.
Yeah. In the future. Yeah, I might be up for that.
Exactly what you're doing right now. I want some realistic looking trees. I want my trees looking so realistic that a bird will actually fly through my window and try to land on it.
Oh, well, I can't guarantee that at all. I don't think, well, a bird may land on him because their feet will fit around it, but no. Who knows what these are going to turn out like? If I was doing a winter scene, they might be okay, but I still have to put stuff on them and leaf and all that. Who knows what they'll turn out like?
You're doing a good job, though, man. Better
Thank
than Andy, anyways. I asked Andy to show us how he makes his wonderful trees, but he refuses to.
Well, those
Yeah, I think
trees
he
are...
applied for a patent.
Yeah, those trees, his up front trees that he likes to call them, are exceptional.
Well, I was
using that sagebrush and all that, but he's put a lot of time into them, you know.
Well, I was trying to get him fired up because he was his little NW was up on the screen and he's been quiet, so I was trying to get him all fired up.
You guys attention.
Yeah, you
What's
can't
up,
call
Andy?
me out. You can't call me out and expect me to not chime in on it. So.
I know.
Hey, trees for them or something, but man, you wouldn't want to pay the amount of time. If you had to pay me any reasonable rate for the amount of time these things take, you wouldn't want to pay for these trees. So, if I didn't enjoy doing it, it wouldn't make sense.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
The people who make any money with this stuff, like Sterling Models, which I love their rock molds too, but they make pine trees that are just exceptional. And how in the world they're making that good of a tree for $6 or $7? I can't. That's the hard thing to understand because they're making them by hand. So I don't know if they're using forced labor or something from kids in Indonesia or something. But boy, those.
How do you spell that?
All right.
Andy, you know what I do for a living. You know sometimes time is money. Time is money, man.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I'm willing to spend the money for the time, and sometimes I'm willing to take the time not to spend the money. So.
Yeah, I do the same thing, and I balance that, with things I spend money on. I buy fairly expensive rolling stock and stuff, whereas I could just build, I could super detail kits to save money, but you can't put time, you can't build all Craftsman rolling stock and build exceptional trees, scratch build all your structures, headlay your track. There's just not enough time in the world to do it all.
Jim does.
No, and I got a paint booth on the way too, so I will be doing some modeling pretty soon. So things will be getting fired up pretty soon.
You never know. Maybe a secret Santa will send you something.
All right, real quick. This is probably for you, Andy, since this is your forte. This is from Bruce in a previous Hangout. There was a discussion about use of solvents such as MEK as an adhesive.
Yep.
There were some other brands, that were mentioned. Was MEK the best to use? Thanks, DDA 40 X-Fan. Bruce.
Well, I mean, it depends. It depends on what exactly you're trying to get. So, I mean, I have a bunch of different adhesives, They all kind of have a niche, but they do the job right. For plastics that I have a bit of time to work with, MEK is not bad. I mean, it's not slow, but it's not extremely fast. Like I've been working with, I'm doing some raised seam roofing where I have to glue the individual seams on. For that, I use 10X7 because it's fast. I mean, this is 10X7's great glue. But for just assembling walls of a DPM kit or something, or walls, I prefer MEK. And MEK is just a solvent. All it does is the plastic adheres itself. All you're doing is softening or melting the plastic enough so that it self-welds itself. And this basically does the same thing, but this is a much faster adhesive than MEK is. I like MEK, though. And MEK is cheap by comparison. I mean, this bottle of 10X7 is 1 ounce, and that's like $6 or $7 or $5 at least. And MEK comes in a gallon for $20. So, I mean, I won't run out of MEK in a lifetime. MEK also does multiple other side duties for me in that I mix it with contact cement, and that's what I actually originally bought it for. Is I use it to dilute contact cement to make contact cement into something I can apply with a micro brush to the bottoms of my rails to headlight track with it. I was using acetone, and acetone does break down contact cement, but it makes it kind of gummy. It doesn't turn it into a nice, thin, smooth thing. So diluted contact cement in MEK is also a great adhesive. But I got a basket full of adhesives. I mean, I bet I've got 25 different things here. And some of these we talked about them the other night. We were talking about like this tag.
I guess what we need to do is just one of the shows let you pull that basket out, and we'll give you 30 minutes to go through it.
Gosh, it wouldn't take 30 minutes. I could talk pretty doggone fast, right, Andrew?
Yeah.
But there are some really good ones out there. They're all fairly standard stuff. Everybody uses them, but they have their niches. And
hi, did you get that rubber band?
Well, everyone has their preference in glues.
Yeah, I'll second that for sure. I like to use nothing but testers, and I've just started to use some other glues. I've watched Andy use this here Loctite gel control. I tried using that when I was building these trees, like some of these armatures to glue them in. not wouldn't see it, meld up quick enough for me, and it wouldn't stick. So that's why I started using the tape. It was quicker. Got my branch where I wanted it, but for plastic styrene, I always use testers.
But I've got a bottle of testers, and I use it for some stuff too. Testers is for me, and take this into account. I'm not very good at working with plastic. Plastic mostly just annoys me, and I'm not great with it. So MEK works better for me. Testers seems to be a little too slow, and too hard to work. And if I'm going fast, the 10X7, like I can't hold these raised seams in place long enough for the testers to act. It's going to move on me before the testers can lock it up. What is that? What, Andrew?
That's I don't know if you get it over there. It's Sully's Aqua Hair PVA glue.
Yeah, we can't get Sally's over here. Bad. I wish we could. I've even tried to order Sally's spray adhesive, and we can't get it.
There's two versions. One's an interior glue and one's an exterior glue. Don't use the exterior glue when you're using Pico Track. It causes it to oxidize something shocking. But the interior one, perfect. I learned that the hard way in my last layout. Started ballasting and picked up the wrong bottle.
And Sally's makes a bunch of really good adhesives. Like the Sally's spray adhesive is exceptional. Like I use 3M Super 77 a lot, and I love it. It's a great adhesive. But if you want to put a lot of leaf flake on, it's a good adhesive. But if you want a fairly thin or kind of dilute tree, and I'm modeling a little earlier in spring, so some of my trees need to be pretty transparent, I can't use the 3M Super 77 because it basically frosts my trees, makes them look like snows on them or frosts on them. So I have to use a lot of hairspray, and hairspray is really tough with leaf flake. With ground foam, not so bad, but with leaf flake, hairspray is hard to use. But if I could get Sally's, I'd be using it.
Well, I'd send you some, Andy, but the postage would kill you.
I know. I could have ordered a bottle of Sally's from Germany, and it was $10 for. And I ordered some stuff from Germany not long ago. I ordered some Pollack scenery materials. That's something we can't get in the States, and that is some of the best scenery material I've ever seen in my life. Pollack. I mean, Doc is great, Bush is great, Mini Nature is great. All those German companies, they make some great scenery. But that Pollack is some of the best looking stuff I have ever seen in my life. And I ordered it from Germany, and I ordered like $30 worth of stuff, and it cost like $20 in shipping. I ordered a bottle of Sally's, and it was $10 for the bottle of Sally's, and it was going to cost me like $25 to get it shipped. So I dropped that off.
Yeah.
Well, since you're presenting me still, John, I happened to make a mistake here. I grabbed some of my green paint by accident, drug it up on a rock. It actually does not look bad at all.
Yeah, give it that moss look.
Yep. Yep. I was wondering about that, so I was going to get a little bit of that. And like I said, I accidentally hit that. Got it a little wet in that one corner. It just pulled it right up on top of that one big rock that Jim likes. Matter of fact, I think we're going to go ahead. That's going to be Jim's fishing pier there. Yeah, it turned out really good.
They look good.
Jim's fishing pier, huh?
Well, the thing is, I sat here because we got all the stuff from Microengineering for our car card system for operations, and I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think of names of facilities.
Mm-hmm.
I've got everything just about named. So just like they did in the real world, I mean.
They had funny names for stuff in the real world, too. I've been reading a new book on this section of the railroad I modeled. There's a section of track that I would have called a team track. I'd originally put it as a team track in MRI's operations, but they called it the log track. So I don't know why the heck they done that, but that's what they called it. So they had weird names for some stuff.
Yeah.
Did I hear that I'm going to be famous?
You already are famous, Jim. Remember,
Oh.
you did a live show.
Oh, that's right. I did a live show.
Hey,
That's
did
right.
you get your shipment of 5x10 black and white autographed photos?
No,
You got
they
those yet, so you can start signing those?
No, I had to cancel the order because money's kind of tight, and asked them for some 2x3 wallet size.
Oh, wallet size.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I thought that would be better because people then could carry me with them everywhere they go. You know.
Oh God, yes. Good thinking.
Yeah, only Jim would come up with that.
Boy, that's what we all need. That's what's missing from my life right there.
Just a wallet-sized photo in your wallet, Jim.
See, I have some intuition, some insight. Yeah, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but
it's a good word.
Foresight.
It's a good word. It's a good word.
Yes. Foresight.
You know, I'm sitting here trying to think of that word.
You never see to beat. This thing takes forever to program a locomotive. It's been riding for like an hour.
So, Dave, you gonna find you a fat HO scale guy and put a little goatee on him and.
Oh, I'm sure I got something in the mix with, in my steel mill guys. I'm sure I could find it in the silver scoop.
Well, Walters makes some heavy figures. They call them heavy figures, something little overweight guys. A little bit of static grass on the chin.
Yeah. Put him in an Amigo sitting out there on the pier fishing.
Yeah, have the Harley sitting right up here by the edge.
Oh, that'd even be better yet. Harley with the sidecar, so he could carry his pole and tackle box in it.
I thought you said for the Amigo to ride in.
Yeah, but I'm thinking the Harley would be better.
Yeah, no sidecar though. Just a '98 Heritage Classic in Harley red. And the fishing pole is one of those ones that come apart and fit down into a little case that you can put in the saddlebag,
The pocket fisherman.
Yeah, well,
Ron Popeil's pocket fisherman.
Hey, I had one of those once.
Yeah.
I liked it.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. We done hit the witching hour here.
Yeah, but America likes to listen to me, so that's all right. You can go on off.
You're hitting the witching hour because I just got on here.
Yeah. Got any volunteers?
Yeah,
Lee.
Volunteers.
Yeah. After
You're going to do it, Jim?
Yeah, I can do it real
Okay.
Oh, if you want me to do it, I'll do it real quick.
All right, Jim's going to do it after show, he said.
Okay.
We voluntold him.
Hey, he better do it. We rely on Jim.
Yeah.
When Jim doesn't do it and he's not there for it, I do it.
Well, I want to say thank you to everybody on the panel here. Phil, Jim, Lee, Dave, Andy, Andrew, Newcastle. He was here for a little while too. I want to thank all the viewers for coming in tonight. Hopefully another show that you've maybe picked up some information, got some ideas. Something good to use on your layout. Like I say, keep checking in on the YouTubeMallBuilders.com, and tell you what, let's do here. Let you guys watch Dave a little bit longer while I set up the splash screen.
Jim might get jealous now. I'm getting all the attention.
That's all right.
This is what not to do.
He'll get over it. Alrighty, just keep checking in on the YouTubeMallBuilders.com website for all the latest news and info on Tuesday night presentations, which are 2 a month now, every other week. You go on the website there and click on presentations and get scheduled for who the host is and what who their guest to be. Then you can click on emags. So if you haven't signed up, you can sign up for an email notification. So that way when it comes out, you'll get a copy of it as PDF. JD and his crew do a great job on that magazine. Then also you got the schedule for the live show, which is every third Saturday. And the next one will be July the 16th. Of course, and the live show is once a month. The EMAG is bi-monthly, of course. And then you have the Thursday general hangouts, which is each week. All the shows, Tuesday live show, Thursday show, are 9 o'clock Central Time. So if you're in a different time zone than Central Time, you'll know what you lag or how much above to go to get to the show on time. Let's see, where did I go? So I want to say thank you for participating in tonight's hangout. Y'all have a good weekend. This coming weekend, a week from this weekend, is the Indianapolis show. And quite honestly, next Thursday's show might be a little bit short because I'm going to be driving up to Indianapolis for that show, for the convention, and meet up with Big Bill. He'll be there. Andy will be there. Miles Hale, quite a few people are going to be there. I kind of like to meet them face to face, so I'm driving up and spend the weekend up there to see what kind of good deals I can find at the show too. So with that said, everyone have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same channel. Good night.